Welcome back to the Sports News Analysis YouTube channel, where I'm always breaking down the hot sports topics of the day. My name is Mike. I'm continuing my NCAA men's basketball tournament preview. With this video is for the South region. I'll be previewing every region of the tournament, so be sure to check those out. I'll preview every game of the region up until I get a team to advance for the Final Four here from the South region. Let's get it started here. The number one seed in this region is the Kansas Jayhawks, winners of the Big 12. They'll face Western Kentucky here in the first round. Look for KU to have an easy time and advance to the round of 32. The 8-9 matchup in this region is a very intriguing one. It pits North Carolina versus Villanova. Carolina has been playing well towards the end of the season. They advanced to the ACC championship game. I just think they're playing a little bit better now this time of the year than Jay Wright's club. I think Roy Williams has them peaking at the right time. So give me North Carolina in this 8-9 matchup to advance and play Kansas, which should be a good matchup as well. VCU is going to be playing Akron here. VCU from the all of a sudden stout Atlantic 10 conference with teams like Butler, Temple, St. Louis, and certainly VCU fits that mold. So I like Shaka Smart and the boys to advance past Akron here in the 5-12 matchup. The 4-13 game is going to pit Michigan versus South Dakota State. South Dakota State's a name that is beginning to get on the national radar. I just think in this one, Michigan, led by all-world point guard Trey Burke, just a little bit too much here for South Dakota State. So look for Michigan to advance to into that 4-5 round of 32 matchup with Virginia Commonwealth. Next UCLA and Minnesota. UCLA is a team that's improved as the year's gone on. I think this isn't a good matchup for a team like UCLA. I think Minnesota has the athleticism to match up with them. And I like Minnesota in an upset here over UCLA. I like Trevor Mbakwe and the boys and Tubby Smith most notably to do their thing here. Give me Minnesota in an upset over UCLA. The 3-14 game here is Florida versus Northwestern State. Florida is a very intriguing team to me because they're one of the few higher level teams with a lot of experience. They make back-to-back Elite Eights. I look for them to really, sometimes with these experienced teams, they sort of sleepwalk through periods of the regular season and dominate others. And I thought that's exactly what you saw from Florida. But I look for them to wake up here come tournament time. Give me Florida as a 3 seed to advance here to play Minnesota, the 11 seed. Towards the bottom of the bracket here, you have San Diego State and Oklahoma. Oklahoma, a little bit of a resurgence. They get back on the national map here this year. I just love what San Diego State is building there. They're becoming one of these consistent teams you can count on year in and year out to make the tournament. And I like them here as a 7 seed to get past Oklahoma. Georgetown is at the very bottom of this bracket. They'll be playing Florida Gulf Coast. You're going to hear people say how good Florida Gulf Coast is, and they'll give Georgetown a game, but that's probably to talk the game up a little bit more than anything. Georgetown should have no trouble rolling right through Florida Gulf Coast into the round of 32. So I got my round of 32 set here in the South region. We'll head back up to the top of the bracket. Kansas versus North Carolina. So many subplots in this one. Obviously, most notably, Roy Williams playing against his former team in Kansas. Just all the history these two programs have between each other. Very intriguing round of 32 matchup. I like Kansas to advance here. I just think they both pretty much play similar styles, and I just think right now Kansas is more experienced and more talented man for man. So give me Kansas to advance to the Sweet 16 here of the South region. Next is Virginia Commonwealth and Michigan. Virginia Commonwealth's going to try to pressure you, play a little bit up-tempo, okay? That leaves them vulnerable sometimes to the outside shot. It also, I think, is going to leave them vulnerable to a guy like Trey Burke, who, as much as VCU tries to pressure him, I just think he's too talented. I don't think he lets Michigan lose here in the round of 32. Trey Burke and Michigan advance to the Sweet 16 against Kansas. In the next round of 32 matchup, Florida versus San Diego State. I think Florida's going to wake up. I think Billy Donovan is obviously a great tournament coach. I mean, you take his 2 championships, but even what Florida's done consistently in the last 10 years or so, they've been one of the better tournament teams year in and year out. I look for them to take care of San Diego State here and for them also to advance to the Sweet 16. Georgetown, Okay, facing San Diego State, Georgetown. Again, I think they'll run that style Georgetown plays. If you don't play them every week or every year in the Big East, I think they can cause some problems for you, and I think they'll do the same to San Diego State. This will be a better game than most people think, but give me Georgetown here to advance to the Sweet 16 against Florida. Now that the regional semis are set here at the top of the bracket, I have Kansas and Michigan. Kansas's weak spot is the point guard position, which is obviously Michigan's total strong suit. And I hate to have a game come down to one position only, but I think these teams are pretty similar in all the other positions. I think Trey Burke, again, is one of these guys, if you haven't seen him play, he's a dynamic player. He's been in a Player of the Year conversation all year. I like Michigan in an upset here in the round of 16 to advance to the Elite Eight. I like John Beilein in a situation like this. I like the experienced backcourt of Hardaway and Burke over what I think is an inferior backcourt that Kansas has. So give me Michigan to advance to the Elite Eight. Florida and Georgetown, this will be one of the better games of the Sweet 16, if not the best of the Sweet 16. I think these two teams are in the top 5 or 6 in America. That's how highly I think of these teams. I like Florida's overall experience. I like Billy Donovan here. I think they'll be able to do some things to neutralize Otto Porter and make him less of a factor. I think they'll run a lot of bodies at him. And I like Florida to advance to the Elite Eight to take on the Michigan Wolverines. The Elite Eight matchup in this region, Michigan and Florida. I think Florida, in the end, they have the guards to be able to slow down Trey Burke enough. And I just think their roster is too deep for a team like Michigan. Michigan will eventually wear down. And Michigan's a team, if their shots aren't falling, they can get in some big trouble. And I look for the perimeter defense from Florida to be the big difference in this game. And I like the Florida Gators and Billy Donovan to advance here to the Final Four out of the South region. So Florida advancing to the Final Four. Some upsets in between here. Let me know what you guys think of my selections here. I'm previewing all the other regions, guys, so be sure to check those out. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm doing sports talk videos pretty much around the clock here on my YouTube channel. Always looking to talk sports, so be sure to subscribe. Thanks again for listening, guys, and have a great night.